From Topps comes the all-new digital card collecting app, free to download from iTunes or Google Play. Star Wars Card Trader.
For the first time ever, collect and trade everything from legendary 1977 Star Wars cards to new cards featuring exclusive content from Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
All from the comfort of your mobile devices. Star Wars Card Trader.
These are the cards you're looking for.
You're listening to Comics with Kenobi.
It's issue number 13, and 13's an unlucky number because guess who's getting canceled? Kanan.
Womp, womp, womp.
Geek me all knowing box sets stay open May 4th. I'm hoping Luke gonna be hot as before, 'cause red looks hardcore and I don't want Sith running the galaxy.
Hi. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Matt. Did you have a good Christmas?
I had the most awesome Christmas. I went and saw a little movie 3 or 4 or 5, 6 times, I think. I've lost count.
I've only seen it twice so far.
You really just don't love Star Wars then, do you?
I just have a life. I don't know what to, I have a friend. I'll give him a shout out, Chad Lauterbaugh, Chef Chad Lauterbaugh. I met him at Celebration. Saw the movie, I believe it was 5 times within the first 24 hours.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah. I told him he might have a problem. He's hardcore.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. But no,
I'm sorry. That's impressive. Just that kind of timing that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. He took the whole weekend off. No, I saw it. Like I said, I saw it first time I saw it in 2D. Went to see it the next day in IMAX 3D. Really enjoyed it. I'm thinking about going. The Omni Theater here in Fort Worth is one of the domed IMAX theaters.
Oh yeah.
They're showing it there. So I'm tempted to go over there and see it. I saw The Dark Knight Rises there, and that was a little overwhelming because that movie is, 2 hours and 40 minutes long, and it's kind of a trudge anyway. So this one I think might be more fun. So I may go check it out there. Get the girlfriend and her daughter to see it there.
Well, I'm fortunate because I took my son to see it on that first Thursday night, and we saw it in 3D. And of course, I have bifocals, which is rather vexing if you are watching stuff in 3D. And then the next night, I went with my neighbor Mason, whom we've given shout-outs before on the podcast, and we saw it in 2D, glorious 2D, and it was so much more enjoyable. And then I took my daughter to see it in 2D as well, and the other few times I've seen it has been in 2D. But the one thing I really want to do is we have the Franklin Institute here in Philadelphia, which is this most amazing museum and research facility named because it was founded by Ben Franklin, and Yeah, he may have heard of him. But they have 2D 70 millimeter capability IMAX, which is what the preferred format supposedly J.J. Abrams shot the film in. And so my next viewing is going to be in that, and I'm really looking forward to it. Really, really looking forward to that, because the last IMAX film I saw there was Pacific Rim, and I literally felt like, because of the way the theater is designed, the very uncomfortable, very old seats aside, I really felt like I was inside one of those Jaegers.
And that's exactly what this theater is as well. I'm not sure if it's a 70 millimeter 3D print or not. I just kind of wanted to go see it on the biggest screen possible.
Oh, well, how could you not want to?
Right.
So, but a good film. I mean, obviously, if anyone's interested in our thoughts about The Force Awakens, Coffee with Kenobi did a sort of round table of which Jeff and I were willing participants. So I highly recommend you give that a listen. We should talk about comics, though.
Yeah, we should.
That's what we do. Because we're into the funny books.
And we have a lot to cover this time out. We're going to skip over Obi-Wan and Anakin, give everybody time, your co-host included, some time to actually read that and digest it. So we'll talk about that next time. But this time we're going to talk about Kanan number 9, Chewbacca number, 5? The conclusion to that book, that series.
Wonderful conclusion.
Darth Vader annual and the last 3 issues of Vader Down. So we got a lot of ground to cover. So let's kick it all off with Kanan issue number 9, and we got some unfortunate news about Kanan here recently, didn't we, Matt?
We did, and this kind of surprised me. But we found out back a couple of days before The Force Awakens opened that Marvel is bringing an end to Kanan with the March issue, with issue number 12. Gregor Weissman had tweeted that he was told it ends with 12, and I did some due diligence and some reporting and was able to confirm that, yes, that is the case. We haven't gotten any word from Marvel on as to why it's being canceled or what could happen afterward. However, some of the sales figures have shown that with each issue that's gone out, it's sold progressively fewer and fewer copies. I mean, the first issue debuted back in February, and it was a little more than 108,000 copies, and that made it the number 8 comic sold that month in terms of the top 20. But ever since then, I mean, it just kind of gradually declined. I mean, the last issue, number 8, I believe it was, was the 52nd top selling comic, in the country for when it came out. So, it only sold 42,824 copies.
What do you attribute that precipitous decline to?
I'm kind of puzzled because I have to admit that you think with the ongoing Rebels TV series and the fact that this book is being written by Greg Weisman as well as just lavishly illustrated by Pepe Larraz, that it would have struck a wider chord, but apparently it just really didn't. I mean,
I have a theory. My guess is that since it is not directly related to The Force Awakens, people just kind of lost interest after that initial, oh wow, this is a great story. When that original storyline ended, people were like, okay, well, let's move on to The Force Awakens. And I don't think Rebels was back on with season 2 at that point, so it may have just been a unfortunate timing.
That may be the case. Regardless, it's going to be when we are completed, it will have been a 12-issue run. And what's really good, and I highly recommend you guys head over to Coffee with Kenobi because you can see our dispatch about this, and we show you the cover for number 12, and it is almost a direct copy of the cover for issue 1, except that everything is flipped because, as you will recall, the first issue of Kanan in the foreground had him as Caleb Doom with Master Balaba and surrounded by clone troopers, with the picture of Kanan Jarrus sort of in shadow and in relief. And in this case, it's been flipped with the forefront being stormtroopers from the original trilogy era, Kanan and Hera and Sabine and, and all the others from Rebels, while Caleb Doom is pictured sort of in relief. So it's a nice way to bookend the series. And we'll see where we go from here with it. Knowing Marvel the way I know Marvel, I'm confident that once this book stops publishing, that it will be replaced with another title. Whether it's another ongoing monthly remains to be seen, but I'm confident beyond measure that we're going to see at least another miniseries perhaps take its place.
I would imagine so. There's too much interest out there for Star Wars in general. So,
Indeed.
Issue 9 specifically, let's just dive into. Really like the cover. It's almost like just a 3-color cover. Really like that, the brown on brown. But Caleb's eyes are the same color as the lettering of the title.
It is, and this it's important to note that this is the adventures of Caleb. It's wrapping up this arc, and so that's what I think. That's what I really liked about this series is when it goes into not so much Kanan Jarrus, but when it goes into Caleb Doom, where we see the boy become the Padawan and the Padawan become the disparate galactic loner, as having to deal with what fate has put upon his shoulders.
Right. And of course, the issue opens. We're reminded that Kanan is in Bacta right now, and he can't be moved. But they're also surrounded by, I guess, Imperial Strike Force, which can't ever be good.
Always a bad thing.
And always a bad thing. And we cut pretty quickly back to Caleb and Master Balaba doing their force training.
They're on the planet Cardoa, and it's her first mission. It's Balaba's first mission.
Are the K names on purpose? Do you think? Because we got Kanan, Kalair, Cardoa.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's a wonderful sense of alliteration. I really wouldn't read too much into it though, because then you'd wonder why we had Tatooine and Luke Skywalker and not Luke Tywalker or something. So.
Or Scatooine. I think we know why we didn't have Scatooine.
Would have been fun.
Yeah.
say that 3 times really fast.
So anyway, they're on Cardoa and they're doing their activities, and this is their I guess their first mission back after her exile with
Yes.
with the clones, and we really see him see Caleb bonding with
Well, not just Balaba, but with with the clones
With
as
the
well. I
clones,
mean,
too.
because this is his first mission, and he's now a Padawan. And I believe that it's implied that he's had some training under Balaba back at the Jedi Temple before taking this mission. But this is his first real exposure. This is what he has been looking forward to doing. This is where he's seen the stories, he's read the tales of the Jedi in action fighting against the Trade Federation and the Separatists, and now he gets to actually do it in person.
There was one thing right out of the gate I wanted to bring to your attention that I thought was funny. One of the clones, she's asking him, Balaba is asking him, tell me about the men I'm now fortunate to command, and he says, not a lot of familiar faces, I'm afraid. That's a joke, right? Because they're all clones and they all look alike.
I think the humor is lost on a lot of people because they tend to overlook it. But I saw that and I had to chuckle loud.
Yeah. And let me ask you this: since you have a military background, is it sound strategy to reassign the same men to her after such a disaster before, or is that standard that she just goes back to her group?
It's a little bit of both, I would imagine. I mean, she's familiar with them, and then the issue takes the great pains to show that they don't hold her with any ill will, that they realize that it was just a simple metric of the battle, and the calculus that resulted was not really her doing. I love how I think it looks like it's Commander Gray or maybe it's Captain Styles, and they're saying you can't blame yourself for that, General, because I can and I do, but we move on. So so she's learning from that, and they're learning from that as well. So I think the wider issue here is why the hell nobody set up a detection system for a probe droid.
Yeah, no kidding. How does not trigger anybody's spidey sense? I'm sorry, force sensitivity.
Yeah. So, but what can you do? So,
So this is all being seen, and
of course we have General Cleave here. Did General Cleave not make an appearance in this series earlier?
I believe so, because I thought he was Hellboy back then as well.
I think you're right. So that was a nice way to sort of bring it back around, because I think it was when he went back. No, it was when
he was in the first story arc, I believe.
Yeah, and I think it was also.
Our listeners are going, it was this issue.
I know they are.
You guys are idiots. Yes, we know. Thank you.
We are. It's my wife informs me that fairly often.
Oh,
so but in a good way. So
as lovingly as she can.
Oh, indeed. So, but no, because I want to say it was probably issue 4, or maybe issue 5.
I think so.
Where he was where they were going, and he was going to steal the ship or something.
Right. And he's there with Colonel Sear. Now, do we know this guy before? Is he new, or do we know him or his brother? I'm trying to remember.
I can't recall, actually.
He says perhaps it would mitigate the failure of your late brother.
Well,
You may depart from Agito knowing Coburn Sear has the situation in hand, and I guess we're just hearing his name a lot because we don't know him. So maybe that's it.
True. Yes, and you know what? I'm sorry to go back. We did see General Cleave before, as he was John Doe.
He's not yellow. He's red.
No, John Doe. He's John Doe.
John Doe. Sorry.
John Doe. Jondo, not jaundice.
Thanks.
Because it's when a very young Kanan Jarrus, who's still probably I want to say maybe like a tween. He's still got the little half-formed ponytail and no goatee on his face yet, and he's gone back to try to find. Oh gosh, I hate getting old.
Yes, I don't recommend it.
So it is nice to see General Cleave in the context that we were already made familiar with as General Cleave, when he was, in fact, when we were first introduced him as John Doe, who was a smuggler. So it was nice. It was nice of Weissman to bring him back around like that.
Right. And the other part of this that I enjoyed, I liked seeing Caleb bond with clone number 1157, CT-1157, who eventually gets the name of Stance at the end of the show.
That's right.
And they both enjoy the battle, which to me was a little creepy. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, some people like to fight.
But I
Some
kind of
people
thought
enjoy
that, and I kind of thought that Caleb's reaction to his she keeping you in a short leash was maybe a little overreactive, maybe. Yeah.
Well, it's what do you expect? It's a young Padawan who's trying to save face and look impressive amongst the troops. Which he didn't really need not do that. I mean, and I love how the fact that the trooper immediately tries to defuse it. Hey, it's okay, Big Mouth has me on a short leash so short I can count his nostril hairs. So, and it's clear, because both kids, as they say, they're both green. It's their first time out. And then it was kind of cool because you get to that next page, and this looked almost like manga-esque or anime-esque.
Very much so. Yeah, very much so.
But I mean, it was a nice little presentation, I thought, of clearly these two would probably start forging bonds. So,
which is always good when somebody's eventually going to try to kill you.
Ultimately, yes. So, and then of course, we go in and we see they're ambushed, and the droids are everywhere. There's no retreat, and Balaba's checking in on her Padawan. He's I'm good. This is what I was trained for. And even his own thought balloons are saying that I should be scared, but instead I'm exhilarated. And he is really doing quite a number with his lightsaber.
He really is. We've got a two-page spread where he's just taking out battle droids left and right.
He is. He's got some skills. He's got some severe skills, and it's clear that his training has been effective. And knowing what we know, we obviously realize that his training is not going to be complete. But it does, I think, especially looking at this two-page spread, that you can see why he's taken on Ezra to train him as much as he can. Because he does have skills. It's very evident. So,
well, and we find after the battle is over that the battle has really only been set up so that Seer can observe them.
Yes, which I find intriguing, and I'm curious to see how this is going to unfold in the final issues. Because I'm optimistic beyond compare, and part of me is just saying that so that I'll feel better about myself. That there will be no sort of cliffhanger endings with issue 12.
You would hope not, since they know it's ending.
But then again, they might want to try and perhaps parlay it into the TV show in some way, form.
Oh, that's true. I suppose that's true. But it would be nice if they would at least wrap up the storyline in the comics.
Yeah, and to the extent that they can with an ongoing property like this one.
So Caleb, this is what I thought was interesting. Caleb gets shot.
Not just shot, but shot repeatedly.
Yeah. He says, I can rise above the pain, not leave myself vulnerable. And of course he does. He passes out, but 1157 is there to save the day, and he will not leave his man behind. Now, my next question is, they come upon the ship. They said, the Separatist ship, should we destroy it, General? Yes, but slowly. Why destroy the ship slowly? Or is he saying, approach slowly?
You're saying approach slowly.
Okay, I see. I'm so literal minded that I was like, why would they want to destroy it slowly? Wouldn't it be better to just blow it up now?
Well, they don't want to. They sort of maybe thinking at the same time. I think they want to do it in a sense so they can draw other droids out to take them down because they see the ship's under attack. They realize it's not utterly destroyed. They're going to come and try to protect it.
Okay.
So, it is very much a tactical maneuver.
True. So we know Caleb's okay, and the second to last page, we're getting a nice glimpse into the aftermath of everything. Balaba reporting to the old folks' home, as Obi-Wan called it. But then the last page, we get on Megiddo, Seer is apologizing to someone. The Jedi survived. I'm neither pleased nor surprised, Colonel. Clearly, I'll have to deal with him myself. As you wish, General Grievous. And as General Grievous, it's a great portrait of Grievous. I think it's great. But at this point, we've seen how ineffective he is. Is it really that much of a dun-dun-dun situation?
Well, I think the way the timeline is set up, it still is. I mean, because he hasn't been so cleanly eviscerated by Obi-Wan yet, and he's still somewhat of a menace. I mean, he still has all the lightsabers of the Jedi he's killed. And the fact that he is now targeting another Jedi the idea is to give us, the reader, some apprehension that, oh no, Caleb may not survive, but Balaba may not survive. She's still sort of walking wounded. How is she going to stand up to the ferociousness and the mightiness of Grievous? And with Caleb Doom is he's got a lot of vit and vigor, but he's still just a Padawan. Of course, we know what happens, so we sort of have to kind of suspend our disbelief and set aside our knowledge, which is hard to do sometimes. But it's also a little bit fun.
Well, it just makes me wonder why they felt the need to go to that character.
Well, why not? He's he's a vicious character,
and it's in the timeline of that.
And he is the primary villain, during this timeline. It's not like we would see Count Dooku.
Right.
Why would Count Dooku, go do this? It's beneath him to go and do this. To go after a single Jedi. He'll go after a Jedi, but he'll go after Obi-Wan, or he'll go after Yoda, or Mace Windu. He won't go after Depa Billaba.
Well, I'm looking forward to next issue, seeing how Kanan fares with him, and it looks like we are going to get that if the cover is to be believed.
I believe you're right. Yes, it's of course you can never trust a comic cover,
right?
Because it's something typically, oddly happens, really unusually. So, but so it goes.
So yeah, good issue. I started to say good episode, like I always do on here. Good issue. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this storyline concludes. I'm assuming this storyline will take us through issue 12. Wouldn't you think?
I would think so. I mean, they said this was part 3, so we've got 10, 11, and 12. So I mean, we could probably maybe do this would be another arc. So and kind of 6-issue arc, wrap it up in a bow.
Right. Agreed.
And of course, you know what? I'm looking back now, and we saw General Cleave back in issue 1.
I thought he had been around, kind of just lurking around for a while.
It's kind of like, yeah. It seems obvious. So it's kind of like, so that's why it pays to sometimes go back and reread the early issues, because that in and of itself is sort of the core argument of do you buy the monthly issues when they come out, or do you wait for the trade, or do you do both? You buy the issues to show your support, read them, forget about them, and then when you get the trade, you devour the trade. It's all in one sitting, and it's all connected, and you can see what you missed. So, I don't know, sir. I just want to hang out with your daughter. So, I can't figure it all out right now. So,
what is that from? Is that Say Anything? Yeah,
it
Say
is.
Anything, yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I saw that for the first time about 5 years ago.
I love that movie. I saw that movie on my 19th birthday, and it has stuck with me ever since. So
if,
all right.
If any of our listeners haven't seen Say Anything, go check it out.
Indeed. It has nothing to do with Star Wars.
Nothing to do with Star Wars. But what does have something to do with Star Wars is Chewbacca issue number 5. I'm getting good with these transitions, man.
You are getting super good. You should go pro.
I should. Somebody want to pay me for this? So
I got $5, man. It's all yours.
Okay, great. It'll be a step up from what I currently make. So Chewbacca number 5, the conclusion to this story, and I'll just say it at the beginning. This issue hit me harder than I thought it was going to.
You implied that, last time when we were chatting and and texting one another, and I got to ask you why. Why was it? I read it and I thought it was a nice way to end it. It was a good way to cap it. It had the same level of humor yet sentimentality, but it wasn't saccharine sentimentality.
No, and that's why it got to me. If it had been saccharine, then I would not have responded to it. But it was earned. I felt like the emotion at the end was earned. We'll get to it. So first off, I love this cover. Yeah, go ahead.
If memory serves me, if I recall when this was first announced, you seemed to be a little bit on the fence about this one. But
I wasn't sure. And after that first issue, I was like, I don't really know where this is going to go. I'm sure it'll be a nice story, but I didn't expect it to have any sort of weight. And it really did. I didn't really expect. I didn't expect to get as much more. Expect to get to know Chewbacca as much as we did.
Okay.
Didn't expect to learn as much about Chewbacca as we did.
Because you seem to, with each passing issue, you've been hooked more and more.
More, exactly. Unlike with Lando, where I was, from the beginning, I was like, okay, this is awesome. This is going to be great. So, but for starters, I love this. I love this cover. It's very reminiscent of A New Hope with Luke swinging across the chasm with Leia. But here we have Zaro hanging on to Chewbacca for dear life. And we open up on, hang on, my iPad has gone into guided view. There we go. So we start off, we're reminded that they are on their way to the Star Destroyer, the one place they didn't want to go.
And it's a beautiful setup, because you see the TIE bomber coming in, and of course you see the older Imperial shuttle in the docking, in the docking bay of the Star Destroyer,
and we get a Death Star droid. I
know, which is nice, and it's really, it gives us an idea of both the competency of the Imperial Navy and the absolute utter inanity of the staffing that they have, because they're just so confident that it borders into almost the negligent. I mean, and he's
it absolutely is, yeah.
And it's just what a wonderful image it is of that stormtrooper helmet, conk, conk, bonk, bonk, bonk down the ramp.
Yeah.
And it's just, they're talking about, because they think, oh, well, we haven't had any contact. Well, it must be like a disturbance or something. It's nothing. Everything's fine. And then, of course, it cuts to that Chewbacca and Zaro. Chewbacca is manhandling stormtroopers. And
Zaro says, I got an idea, buddy. Why don't you let me do the talking?
Yes.
And I love what she slides down the ramp, and I love she just says, give me a reason. That just tells me everything about her character.
She's all fight. She never gives up. I mean, it doesn't matter. It does not matter what the situation is. She will never say die.
And then I forget how smart she is, because she immediately starts setting Jom up as a rebel sympathizer who's double-crossing them, which is just brilliant.
Which is always amazing, because she is so able to act so quickly on her feet and think on her feet that she is not just action. She is brains and brawn, and she's got strategy.
She's almost like a miniature Princess Leia.
She is, but I want to say that she's probably a little more bolder. Or a little more bolder. I want to say she's bolder.
No, I like a little more bolder.
I have a degree in journalism.
Better. So I'm just loving everything about this issue so far. And then he says, I see the negotiations have failed. You have my complete attention, young lady. She says, smart move, because Chewbacca just rips the arms off of the droid and knocks its head off with the stormtrooper helmet. And so she, if anybody has forgotten, last issue they crammed a bunch of explosives into a droid, and she's blaming it on Jom. And I have to wonder if this was the plan to begin with, or if this is just something that she came up with while they were en route.
Well, given what we know about her, I could totally see them coming up with it en route to the Star Destroyer. I could totally see that, and would not surprise me in the least.
Oh, boy. And then, of course, Jom shows up, and then the droid explodes. So this is where Chewbacca takes off on these hoses. And I love Zara's, I got you. At least I think I got you. I don't got you. And so he catches her, and it just reminded me of Superman the movie. Don't worry, miss, I've got you. You got me. Who's got you? I don't know why. That's just what
but it's fun though, and that's great, because it gives us a nice little cultural callback.
And they take shelter in this TIE bomber, which I just love that they get in there. And this we're seeing a lot more. I always assumed that these TIE vehicles, TIE fighters, TIE bombers, TIE interceptors, were single occupant. But we've learned, starting with Rebels, that you can fit at least 2 people in there.
Oh, very much so, and which is great, because I mean, these are fairly large ships. I mean, those TIE fighters that we were first introduced to in A New Hope, were clearly the little one person ships. But I think with any of these ships, they can sort of be meddled around with and redesigned and played with. I mean, I was the first time I saw a TIE bomber was The Empire Strikes Back. Oh, that's so cool. And then then you realize, well, it doesn't have to just be a bomber. It could be a cargo ship, if you will, or a troop carrier. Not a whole lot, but still.
It's very true. And I just love the interplay between Zaro and Chewbacca, because he gets offended when she asks about his flying ability. And then she makes a good point. She goes, "Sorry, Your Highness, it's just the last ship you flew is all busted down on the planet."
which is, and of course, what does he do?
He has to go back for it. His bowcaster is his fedora. He has to go back for it. I love it.
I think that's great. So it's a nice little subtle nod to the Indiana Jones trilogy, whether it's intentional or not. That doesn't matter.
And I'm thinking right about the time I'm thinking, man, she really talks a lot. He tells her to shut up. So
they've got a nice little clever interchange going on with each other and a good rapport. And and it's funny knowing now what we know with Rey. It's almost like a preview.
Right. Exactly.
He's very comfortable and he's got a good repartee with Zaro. And who knows? Who knows what's going on with the story group? But it's just kind of cool.
It is. It's very cool. I'm a big fan. And so they lose a wing when they take off,
which I love.
Yeah.
And they crash again. He crashes again.
And she says, "I'm pretty sure your first crash site isn't too far away."
Which is wonderful. So, because that is such sardonicism.
And here's the part where Jeff started to tear up the first time. They go back to his ship. He looks around inside something, and she's talking about how it would be nice if somebody knew that they had just saved the planet. And she says, not that we're after glory, but a little gratitude would be nice, And Chewie gives her his medal. The one that we never saw him get, but we know that he has.
Right. And so now, but he still no longer has it now. But he gave it to her, and it means everything to her because it was important to her that there be some sort of notification, some sort of declaration that you did this, we freed this planet, or we helped defend this planet. And even if nobody else were ever to believe her, she has the medal. So it was all real.
Right.
And she knows it's real, and nothing can take that away from her.
And I've got in my notes, I'm like, this is just good writing. This is good writing, great editing. And the artwork, again, is just telling the story.
It is. And again, by not translating Chewie's dialogue, it's really on us to, I think that everybody who's reading this book has a different interpretation of what Chewie is saying. Or a different inflection of what he's saying.
Right.
Because we don't know what he's saying. So we're filling in the gap ourselves. And I think that helps make the book what it is.
And I love their goodbye. It's just my question about it is this is going to be a long and difficult journey for Jom because we go back to the yeah.
So
would they not go after Chewie and Zaro?
Well, I don't think.
Again, I guess it goes back to you talking about the Empire being so confident.
Yeah, because he thinks that he's got he's like, all right, this. I've got my man. I'm going to get a promotion. I'm going to I'm going to get a little extra little bump in my pay grade here, and again, not realizing that he's been played for the fool that he is. And you can see the impression I got was they were setting sail, leaving the system.
Oh, they are. They're just getting.
They've got their prize. They'll get him to the detention center, to the closest authentic interrogation center that can milk all this information out of him. Then they'll realize, oh no. So I don't think this is the last we've seen of Zaro. I mean, we've still got a lot of occupation, or we've still got a lot of Empire to get through.
True, very true.
And so I'm thinking she might pop up again. Maybe even in passing in one of the other titles. Maybe whether it's the Star Wars Monthly or the Darth Vader Monthly, or I will say this. I haven't seen any references to her yet in the post Shattered Empire series of writings, but who knows? We've got coming up. Chuck Wendig is writing I think it's Life Debt, which is the second Aftermath novel in the Aftermath trilogy, and but all intents and purposes, it seems to be about, it's going to be about Han and Chewie and the others freeing Kashyyyk from the Imperial rule. And who's to say that perhaps maybe Zorro doesn't show up in that?
Possibly. You never know.
Nice little way to, hey, reunion of the two. So
That would be cool. And we get to see her reuniting with her dad at the end of the issue, and she's such a smart ass to her dad, and I love it.
Yeah, very much so.
John, what have you done with Zorro? You're alive. Razor sharp as always, Dad.
It's a wonderful relationship the two of them share.
Really is. And he says, where's your big friend? She says, I asked him to stay, but he was on an important mission, and this is the part that got to me. We've got her voiceover where she's just sort of imagining what probably happened. And she says, I think he survived his own jom and didn't want us to live as slaves. I would have loved if he would have stayed here, but I knew he had to leave when I figured out what was inside of that box. I think he's on his way home, and it's not going to be a happy homecoming, and that's what got to me, because I realized what was happening, and he's bringing home the bandolier of a fallen Wookiee.
He is
to the family and to the son specifically, I would assume. And
that's the impression that I got.
And this whole thing, she's talking about, somewhere tonight a family is trying to understand how to live with the loss, and that I'm kind of getting
a little misty-eyed
now. And this whole thing, because we know what we know of the Wookiees is that they are, their clans are very tight, their families are very tight, they're very loyal to one another, and he's making this special trip home to deliver this, and then she says, one thing's for sure, his rebel friends are the luckiest gang in the galaxy to have him on their side. And this last panel gave me chills because he's talking to the child of whoever he brought this bandolier back to, and then the Falcon is landing to pick him up. And we know, he's going off on another adventure. And I can't explain why it touched me so much, but it just did. There's this idea of, we've all lost people. We've all lost people before we wanted to lose them. And, this coming at the holidays is, you're already very conscious of that. So maybe it was the holidays that made it get to me, but it just, this to me has been the best final issue of a miniseries yet that we've gotten. Now, I won't say it's overall the best miniseries, but I think this final issue is the most satisfying wrap up to a miniseries that we've gotten yet for me.
I have to agree with you wholeheartedly on this one. I think one of the appeals of this is Chewie is a Star Wars character that's known, even to the casual observer or casual fan. Everybody knows Chewbacca, and this gives us more insight into who his character and what his character is. And he's always just sort of been the hairy giant with a propensity for ripping off droids' arms. But this lets us know what he's like on his own, because in every context that we have seen him until the end of The Force Awakens, right, it's always been with Han Solo, and this was a chance for us to see him. Unless you want to, count the Star Wars Christmas special, but
the holiday special,
which we probably shouldn't. And this shows us that he's very multidimensional.
Which we already knew that he was, but it was just nice to see.
But it gives us
some of that,
because we see him reacting and working much as he does with Han, but with someone else. And I think that's what intrigues us, and it's what intrigues me, because we're so used to seeing him through the prism of Han and Chewie. And now we've Han and Zorro.
We've had glimpses of him because we've seen him with 3PO in the Star Wars book, but we've never seen him just off on his own.
Yeah,
left to his own devices, and what he would choose to do.
And I think part of me wants to think, and this is the person with the open mind, always looking for schemes and plans, and skeptics and cynicism, or just or suspicions, is that perhaps maybe they told this story to prepare us for what was going to happen. Because now we're going to see, I think, Chewie forge a new bond and a similar bond, much as he did with Zorro, with perhaps Rey.
Possibly. I think you're probably right.
I mean, it's a leap, but I'm making a leap of faith here.
Well, this is all, these are all supposed to be connected. It's all one universe, so that makes perfect sense. I hadn't even thought about it till then, but you're absolutely right. I think this is to, like you said, to kind of ease us into seeing him partnered up with someone else.
Yeah. So that's my take on it, and I'm sticking with it.
All right. Well, so I know we don't really do ratings on this show, but I loved this series.
I thought it was great. I would probably give this definitely 9 out of 10 bowcaster cartridges.
Yeah, I would go with that too. I would go with that. Yeah. And we know how fun they are to shoot thanks to The Force Awakens now.
That's really nice.
I like this. So, I think the last issue that we talked about the Star Wars annual. So this time we've got the Vader annual to discuss, and it's a fairly slight story. I'm not overly impressed with it. In keeping with the rest of the Vader books, it's sort of a darker themed book.
It is, and this is just a flat out nice little example of a good annual story. It's sort of a standalone. Don't really need to know anything about it beforehand. It doesn't really have to tie into anything afterward. And it just shows Vader at his Machiavellian best, and serving as not only just as an errand boy, and for Emperor Palpatine, but also at the same time, burnishing his own legend and mythology as a bad A, with no qualms whatsoever about destroying anybody. But the way that book ended is what really got to me, because it showed the level of his cruelty and the depths to which he was willing to plumb to get his point across as a servant of the Emperor,
right?
As the Emperor's dog, that nothing would come in between them. And I'll let you divulge it if you want to divulge it. I mean, that's not what I thought was in the box.
Oh, right. I had no idea what was in the box. What's in the box? What's in the box?
And just that ending was, that was a very good political lesson that he offered.
Right. So,
and not just a political lesson, but also a life lesson.
So just real quick, to give anybody who hasn't read it and doesn't plan to read it, just to give you a little bit of a synopsis. Vader has gone to the planet of Shu Torun, which is an ore mining planet that is supplying the Empire. And apparently they've not been meeting their quotas, so he's going to get them to double their efforts, as you might remember from Return of the Jedi. And there's a 2-page spread of him arriving on the planet. I just love that because it looks like Mustafar mixed with, Apocalypse from the DC Comics.
Exactly.
The Dark Side Lives.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looked like to me.
And so he shows up and he's meeting this royal family. And of course, the one he thought should be meeting him doesn't meet him. Where is this in the timeline? Because BT-8 and 000 are stowing away on his ship.
I think this is probably set in and around the timeline of the ongoing Darth Vader series. Because this is just sort of one of those little one-off stories. So I think we're basically it's almost as if we could just count this perhaps before Vader Down, but well after having met Dr. Aphra.
Right. Clearly.
So, and it's just an interesting story, And again, this is an example of and this is what annuals do. It's just one little story, kind of a sort of a almost like a I guess it's almost like it's like an anthology, if you will. It need not necessarily be part of the ongoing storyline in the regular series. Well, it could still be tied into it,
right,
at the same time. But it's. This story would have been out of place in the ongoing series.
Well, I liken it to, I don't know if you're a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan, but
I am, okay. And I weep for those of you who are not.
As do I. But that series, they would have these multi-episode arcs, and then at the end of an arc, there would be like one episode that would be just sort of a standalone episode to fill time before they started the next arc, and that's kind of what I liken this to. My question is, why would you try to make Darth Vader dance?
Well, because they're such sticklers to tradition and protocols. You should realize that anybody who has a lightsaber and is in a really restrictive suit probably is not the best choice to do the cha-cha, no matter what it means to your culture. Darth Vader don't care about your culture. He's like the honey badger of the Galactic Empire.
Right. So, yeah, one of my questions was, is the ore that they're supposed to be providing, do we assume this is for the second Death Star?
That was the impression that I got.
That's what I assumed as well. Yeah,
that this was a very critical component for Death Star number 2, and I kind of got the impression that maybe we're for building Star Destroyers as well.
Oh, but that's good. Yeah, that's true as well. I just assumed that it was.
That's a leap. That's a leap on my part, but just that's one of the great things about these stories is people forget that. The economics of Star Wars are truly astounding. So, they're going to have all these supply depots and offerings everywhere. So,
and from here on out, for the most part, we see that we see BT-8 and 000 take out a protocol droid, and for the rest of the story, it's basically Vader trying to make his way out of where they think they've trapped him. And then we find out that BT-8 and 000 are there trying to convince her father, Trios' father, to give up. Right? Isn't that it?
Yeah, because they're realizing that it's almost like, all right, you're so set in your ways, but you have to be open to these new ideas and these new possibilities. It's a changing universe, it's a changing galaxy, and what may have been the right thing to do 5 or 10 years ago may not be the right thing now, and you have to have a little more flexibility, and they're not.
Right. Yeah, I'm just like I said, there's not a whole lot of story here, but we do, like you said, there's a lot of character development with Vader, and I really like his interaction with Trios until he cuts her hand off, which is a thing in Star Wars. I assume anybody who ever plays with a lightsaber at some point gets some appendage removed, whether they want to or not. And so we come in and they find out that the king has had a massive heart attack, which we know is really just, 000 has killed him.
Which is what, that's what 000 is supposed to do. He tortures and he assassinates and he kills.
I'm sorry, BT-8 did, not 000. BT-8 just facilitated it.
Yeah.
And so then Vader, he says, "Your Majesty, this is yours," and he gives her the box, throws it down, and it's a rock, and we find out it's what remains of Alderaan.
And that, I think, that just sends a message.
Yeah. I would have lost control of all of my bodily functions at that point.
Pretty much, because that's essentially him telling her, "We will destroy you," without a moment's thought or a moment's notice. That's the level to which we're ready to do.
As he says, "Queen Trios, this world is yours to rule." As he walks off, he says, "But do not forget whom you serve." And she's left to just sit there in the rubble. Sans hand. Heavy lies the crown. Just a real downbeat ending. But, you get in bed with the Empire, and that's what happens.
Yeah. The Empire is they're not nice people.
No, it's not from what I've heard. So, yeah, an interesting story. If you get a chance to pick it up, it's worth reading.
As all annuals are,
right? But not necessary for the main story. But it is. It's an interesting story. I enjoyed it. So we'll take a short break now. I'm sorry. Did you have any other thoughts about the annual?
It's a good read. Art was good. It was a nice little way to escape for 15, 20 minutes.
It took you 20 minutes to read that?
Well, I read it slowly. I drink everything in.
That's true. I'm just looking at the words, and then I'll go back and look at the bubble at the pictures later. So we'll take a short break. We'll be back to discuss the exciting conclusion to Vader Down.
Hey, it's Dan Z
And Corey Club.
from Coffee with Kenobi, and we are excited to let you know about the Star Wars Card Trader app from Topps.
Yeah, Dan, you remember those cards that came out in 1977, the good old days? Well, they're back
yes.
again. Yeah, so it's the Star Wars Card Trader app. It has them all, as well as fantastic images from The Force Awakens, The Clone Wars, Rebels, and much more.
Absolutely. You've got your favorite characters, memorable scenes, you've got key moments. It's all there. You get credits every day for free from the app, which is available from iTunes or Google Play. Open packs from the Cantina, trade with your friends, and enjoy these amazing Star Wars memories as you take your first step into a larger world.
There's so many different sets to choose from also, and there's so many great cards to chase. There's special inserts, there's rewards for completing sets and variants. It's everything you love in collecting from a galaxy far, far away.
The Star Wars Digital Card Trader collecting app from Topps.
These are the cards you're looking for.
And we're back, and we're going to discuss all the last 3 issues of the Vader Down mini series. But Matt, you were telling me that there was a little bit of a problem with the distribution this week. So not all of our listeners have gotten it this week, correct?
Well, yeah, and also what happened with Obi-Wan and Anakin. Some people, some people may have gotten copies this week, and some didn't. The allotments were lower for some reason. And the rest, there should be a recoup next week. So some of this may come as a surprise to some of you, and if you haven't read it yet, then don't listen. This is your chance to sort of to take a break. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up the remaining chapters of Vader Down, which is the six episode crossover. So,
and the first one we're starting with is Darth Vader issue number 14. Which is part 4 of Vader Down. So, let me just pull that up right quick. This cover, Han looks really weird on the cover of this book, does he not?
He does. It's something wrong with his neck and the way his face is drawn. It's like he,
Luke looks phenomenal. Looks, a lot like Mark Hamill did at the time. But yeah, Han, it's just,
it's just, the facial resemblance is there, but just, I don't know, it's just the way the neck is drawn. It's an odd shape. It's an odd angle.
But I guess the cover should be the least of our worries here. So we open up and we're back on Vrogus Voss, and somebody's trying to reach C-3PO, and we realize that it's Han Solo.
It is.
When we last left our heroes, they had all been knocked out by Dr. Aphra and 000. So, and Chewie had been, I'm trying to remember what happened.
To Black Chrysanthemum? Because before that, when we had Star Wars...
No, they hit him with the dart.
Yes, that's... No, well, the dart and the wasps. The wasp worms as well.
Yeah,
remember?
wasp worms. That's correct.
So
3PO was trying to message Leia, and we cut to this page, and I love this second page with Vader just towering over Leia.
And that is everything, because that has so much emotional heft, because that's father, daughter, destroyer of the world of the other. There is such emotional heft to this picture, and the fact that it's a full page almost, it's amazing. And he's listening in, Master Luke is safe, him. So, and then of course we get right out of that, and it jumps to the comedic relief,
right?
Which I thought was the case for this issue, with Aphra and the droids, and of course, 000 has no arms because Chewbacca's pulled them off,
right?
So, but I don't know. It's these two characters. I like all three of these characters normally, but nominally in this issue, it just seems a little more. Yeah, we could do without them. It didn't have to have such a role.
If I never see 000 again, I'll be okay with that. But he does have one good line here. She's pulling him out. He says, that could have gone better.
Yes.
He's finally mastered understatement.
That's very true.
And so she tells them to get after Skywalker, to go after Skywalker.
Yes, yeah, because it's Black Coruscant.
Yeah, just Black K. I hate it when they give characters names that can't be pronounced easily. because
Yeah.
in my head, my tiny brain keeps trying to pronounce it, and it takes me twice as long to read the book.
Yeah, it's the Wookiee that that was hanging out with Boba Fett. So,
Question.
Answer.
Leia is talking to Vader, and she's monologuing, saying, you'll pay for this. If not today, one day. I know this. Blah 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 blah. And he says, "You misunderstand. Your end will not be like your precious Alderaan. That was far too swift. You will find that. What? You dare? Do you truly think you can ambush a Dark Lord of the Sith? Is he pretending to hear things so that Leia will run? Or is he really hearing those? What we find out later? He's hearing sort of echoes from his past."
A little bit of that, I think, and I think he's also feeling the disturbance in the Force because he knows something is coming, which we will see in the next couple of issues.
Well, the only reason I ask is because he says, "Run, princess, tell your friends where you are, lead the boy to me, lure the boy to me." So Leia just really has a death wish, it seems.
Well, she is out for revenge. She is the sovereign of Alderaan. She
calls it an airstrike and just says basically, lock onto my position and throw everything you've got at me.
Which is, that's all good and well, but that's also poor leadership, because
Extremely.
she's viewed as a military tactician for the Alliance, and you don't take yourself out of the game unless it's absolutely necessary and absolutely critical.
And of course, unless you know it's going to be effective.
Yes, and now of course Vader has pretty much killed everything that the Rebellion has thrown at him on this planet. I mean, starting with all those squads of X-wings,
right?
I mean, including Blue Squadron that we see in The Force Awakens, but so she is of the mind that it's going to take a suicidal onslaught to ensure that he dies. But even then, I'm wondering if she's thinking, is that going to be enough? So. And it's good because it shows that she is willing to sacrifice herself. That she's doing it, for the greater good. But when you have two people on the planet, that being Luke and Han, that's not going to happen. They're not going to let it happen.
Right.
There's conflicted emotions for her by them, for her. So there's no way they're going to let her. Not going to happen.
Now, earlier, Afer referred to her hairy cavalry coming. So what happens is the Falcon takes off and the ship just basically torpedoes it, spears it, T-bones it, if you will, into the ground. And this black Kazakhstan, whatever. Chrysanthemum.
Chrysanthemum.
And this actually was a bit of a relief for me. I was afraid that she had turned Chewie into a sleeper agent somehow.
Yes, or had somehow been able to co-opt his mind.
Right.
It was a nice way to have him come back too, because we saw him earlier, I think, in the Darth Vader series.
I was wondering because it seemed vaguely familiar, but I couldn't put my finger on where I'd seen him before.
He was with Boba Fett when they were being hired to track down Luke.
Right.
So that's where we saw him. And of course, it raises the issue. Of course, by this time Kashyyyk is enslaved. So why would Kirstenton, Black K, why would he be involved with anybody remotely connected to the Empire? You'd think there'd be some sort of species. Well, yeah, but still, I mean, Wookiees do have this nice code, this sense of honor. But it seems pretty clear. Yeah, well, Black K does not.
Right.
So he's in it it's all about the credits for him. So, but I love.
He's there to get Luke.
I love the fact that Han thinks he's after him.
Yeah.
So, it's...
No, Jabba's got money on my head, but we can... Oh, you're not here for me. Woo. Hey, take your paws off my friend. So, yeah. So then he and Chewie get into it.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't last very long because Chewie's still got this poison in his system. And Chrysantan, whatever his name is, puts Chewie over his head like he's going to do like a pile driver or something with him. And he says, "Don't." But Luke says, "Luke is going somewhere." He just runs off, which I couldn't.
Why wouldn't you run after? Wouldn't you run away too? I mean, Because Han has told him, "Go quickly. You've got to save the princess. We'll handle this. Well, I'm not leaving you." Well, then you're letting Leia die. All right, I'll be back. So
don't worry, 2-on-1. We can handle this. I hope.
Yeah, so it's not like he's running away. Han has told him, "Go save Leia." So, and then of course that's the last we see of him. And then we cut to that odd little interchange between the comedic relief and C-3PO.
And of course, he loses his arms.
To the comedic relief, and I just also twists his head back and forth, because all the way around. I mean, this is most undignified, which captures the impression of C-3PO, but it's like, really?
Yeah, is it really necessary?
No, it's not. It's eye candy. It's what can you do? So.
Well, and I get, it goes back to that whole, it's a running joke that C-3PO keeps losing limbs. So I guess we have to have it happen at some point. So we cut back to Vader and Leia, and she says, "Your friends won't save you." She goes, "They won't save me, but they'll end you." And she calls in the airstrike, and Luke is yelling up at the sky, trying to stop it. And
it's Y-wings again.
Right. Slow but steady Y-wings, but again get attacked by TIE fighters.
Mm-hmm.
And I got confused. I was like, when did he call in TIE fighters? And we find out that it wasn't Vader who called in the TIE fighters. It was Commander Carbon.
Yes, the General Grievous of the Mon Calamari.
Grievous 2.0, as I call him.
I don't like this guy.
I don't either.
He's impetuous. He's impertinent. The perspicacity of this guy is just...
He reeks of a character that they just put in to solve a plot problem.
They did.
Rather than actually writing a character.
And I'm still puzzled by the fact that he gets royal guards.
Right.
Now granted, maybe these are a little modified royal guards, but no. This I thought was a little... Well, I'll be honest. This is where Vader Down started crashing for me.
Same here. Anytime that they bring in these characters, and it's supposed to be Vader Down, I can't.
Yeah, I was really enjoying that dynamic of the original trilogy characters contesting with Vader to kill Vader, and yet we know how it ends. Vader survives, obviously. I mean, but still, introducing these guys, because then it brings in all these needless plot points and just, to further underscore the evil machinations and backstabbing of the Empire. Well, duh. That's what they do. We know this. This is not a surprise. What would have surprised me is if Carbon had shown up and said, "I'm here to rescue you, Lord Vader." So, in a reverse homage to the Death Star sequence. And the dialogue. I mean, whoever loses, Commander Carbon is victorious, and to the victor the spoils. Bring me the boy.
All he's missing is a mustache to be twirled.
Yeah, it's like meh, meh, meh. So it went off the rails for me with that panel. It really did.
It left a bad taste in my mouth. Luckily, we didn't have to wait very long to get that taste out of our mouth, because we jump to Star Wars number 14.
Yes, which is a great cover, because we have the
Wookiees fighting. Oh, that's great.
Hair flying everywhere. So
really cool. So the first thing we have is Leia monologuing to Vader, and she talks a pretty big game for somebody who assumes she's about to die.
She does, and I got to tell you something. This art by Mike Deodato is nuts. Nuts as in like crazy good.
Yeah, really is.
From that lead on, with Lambda class shuttles, the other shuttle, TIE interceptors coming in. You have that, Leia, like you said, lecturing, and with full in full self-sanctimonious mode. I mean, but the Vader's response, though, this was good. This is not a war, Princess. Wars are for lesser men than the Emperor and myself. This is a series of executions, and yours is long overdue.
It's cold, dog.
It is always cold, super cold. I mean...
But then, of course, Carbon has to stick his pointy head into it. I'm thinking at this point, I'm hoping this doesn't all hinge on Carbon. I don't like this guy. The only thing I like about this guy is he's the second person in the whole saga to refer to Vader as Darth after Ben Kenobi.
He is. And he's also the first one that we know of that's ever called him a withered old relic.
Yes, certainly the only one that said that and not met an immediate end. But he is. I mean, he's Grievous 2.0 because he's got these lightsabers he can use and he's got forearms. I just think it's lame. I just think it's unoriginal and lame.
It is unoriginal and it is lame. Although you do have to wonder because one of his lightsabers is purple. So is that Mace Windu's? No, because Mace Windu's lightsaber went out the window in Coruscant.
Right. Well, but if they can retrieve Luke Skywalker's lightsaber off of Bespin, shouldn't be that difficult to retrieve a lightsaber off of the surface of Coruscant.
All right, that's fair. I'll give you that.
Yeah. But we're saved from this monologuing and this lightsaber battle that they're about to have by a Wookiee brawl.
And this is a Knuckles dragon on the floor, rolling in the mud, the blood, the beer brawl.
The one thing I have, the one question I have is, Han figures out that he doesn't have the shot. He's still got the toxin in his system. So 3PO plunges the shot into his back. Would it work that quickly? Would it be that instantaneous? I mean, I guess I know we're, it's just fiction and it's a fantasy and blah, 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 but I don't know.
I don't know. It depends on how powerful the sedative is. You shoot a pretty powerful tranquilizer into somebody, it knocks them out pretty quickly. And of course, this guy's pretty big, especially Black K. He does. Is he bigger than Chewie? It kind of looks like he is.
See, I took this to be. That's where I got confused. I took that to be that they were sitting the antitoxin into Chewie. But you think he was shooting a sedative into the other one?
Did I miss that?
Well, the only reason I'm thinking is because Han says no wonder Chewie's getting his furry butt kicked. He's still got who knows how much Mandalorian xenotox coursing through his vein. Don't just stand there.
But that's from when 000 hit him with it.
Yeah, but he says, R2, you didn't give him the shot yet. So that's why I assumed they were talking about the shot for Chewbacca.
Oh, you know something? I misread that. Yeah, you're right, because it looks like he maybe hit him with like the equivalent of an adrenaline burst or something. Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that would get him up and going, and yeah, because he turns around. And
if that's what it is, yeah, that's true. Yeah, just pummels the guy.
Yeah, so maybe like a Wookiee berserker.
Yes, it's very good. Yeah. And so Luke, in the middle of all this, of course, is doing exactly what he should be doing, which is wandering around some ancient ruins, listening to dead people. He's looking for Leia. To be fair, he's looking for Leia, but he starts hearing a voice that he assumes is Ben.
And that voice is saying, "Look, why are you here? You're not ready. Get out. Go. I mean, what's the matter with you?" And of course, he immediately, looks up, surrounded by stormtroopers, who once again miss.
Every single time. But you know who doesn't miss? BT and 000. And every time I see them, I'm just like, ugh.
It's just, it's kind of like,
Well, again, it's just, one-track mind. So they're so one-dimensional. The only thing I will admit that it is cool to see BT set all the stormtroopers on fire.
Well, with that flamethrower again.
That is pretty cool. I will give him that.
That is cool. But then again, the realist to me is going, well, where in that little stubby body is he holding all the chemicals for that? But again, that I've got to suspend disbelief. I've got to suspend belief. It is just a comic book.
True.
So,
and speaking of suspending belief, we cut back to Vader and Carbon.
Yay!
We do get one good line out of this. He says, when Vader says, when you wield the power of the dark side, one lightsaber is all you need.
That is a great line. And that's one of the things that I think should stick with people.
Yeah, exactly. And so then Vader starts hearing the same, a lot of voices, but he's hearing echoes from his past.
Which I think is great, because you have to wonder, okay, no. Yes, of course he would be, because that is, the Jedi mantra, the Jedi fabric is so part of this temple that he's going to have to feel it. You know, and of course it's part of this ongoing internal struggle that he has. You know, because he is still trying to fight this. You know, and to a large extent he's won, but there's still that little bit
of a tug, yeah.
Yeah, you know, within him that he just try as he might. It's, you know, it's like Kylo Ren. You know, he can't. You know, he's being tempted by the light. You know, another Sith Lord, a runner in the night.
Nice.
Thank you.
Have you ever heard Bruce Springsteen's version of that song? You know, he wrote it, so he recorded it first.
I have. It's a great one.
It's bizarre. You know, hearing Manfred Mann's version for so long, and you listen to Springsteen's version, and it just sounds bizarre. And we're off on another rabbit trail.
Sorry.
No, that was all me. But Carbon's, sneaks up on him while he's listening to these voices, and keeps talking. And his monologuing just seems so dated. It seems like old comic books, like the stuff you would read from like the 60s and 70s, where somebody is just explaining their inner monologue verbatim and literally. Did it seem that way to you?
It did, actually, and that was problematic, I thought, because, you know, it's...
Yeah, it's one thing for it to work if you've already set up the comic to be that sort of throwback, and that, you know, I can get behind that. But this one is not set up that way. No,
and it should, you know, there's no need for it to do it like that, because if they want to do it like that, then the action that they're drawing is enough to give us the impression of that. Not this trite. You know, I take your place at Emperor's side.
Well, it's right up
yours in the grave,
and it's right up there with Christopher Lee's dialogue in Attack of the Clones.
It is. Oh gosh, it is.
Where he says, you know, it says to Yoda, it's clear that we can't decide this by use of the Force. It'll have to be decided with our lightsabers. Like, really? Do we really need you to tell us that? You couldn't just light it up and go after him?
Yeah. So, well.
Cut to the next page. We see, you know, the end of the Wookiee fight, and we see Luke on the next page after that get hit in the head with the butt of a stormtrooper rifle, and I swear they just used the facial model of him at Cloud City out in the gantry when he yells "No!" because the way his teeth are sort of bucked out there.
I think you're
exactly
right.
what it looks like to me.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right on that one. So.
But I love that C-3PO doesn't seem to lose much usefulness by not having any arms. He can still do everything that he normally does and be just as effective. But, you know, again, things are looking pretty grim. Chewbacca's knocked out.
You know, so it looks like somebody's got, you know, they're dragging Luke away. You know, Han is on the ground. You know, the only thing
hand clamped around his neck.
The only thing that looks really out, you know, we have, you know, Darth Vader and Carbon are dueling really fiercely, and then that last page looks pretty good because you have Leia, who's got this, you know, clear shot of, you know, she's got a bean on Vader's noggin. Is she gonna take the shot? She gonna deliver that kill shot? And
that is the best part of this comic, is that very last panel, because you got 3PO going, "Mistress Leia, oh please don't be dead," and she's behind him with her gun cocked. That I loved that.
The interactions between Leia in this crossover event has been really good, because it's really emphasized the fact that she is a major strategist and someone willing to sacrifice herself for the cause.
And obviously, we know she's not going to succeed, even if she does shoot at him. But that's cool, and that propelled me on to say, okay, I want to see how this thing is going to end.
Yeah, and plus it gives us the notion of how devoted she's going to be to Ben Solo, and, you know, why she's going to do her level best to take down Snoke, I think, in Episode 8. That's just conjecture on my part, kids. I have no clue what's going to happen on Episode 8. I do know for a fact there won't be Klingons in it, though.
Well, true, because Abrams is not directing it.
There you go. See, that's how I know.
So that brings us to the part of the show that you may not want to listen to if you're one of the unlucky few whose comic shop did not get Darth Vader number 15, which is the conclusion to this storyline. It is Vader down number 6. So if you haven't read it yet, stop listening now and come back when you have read it. Otherwise, we'll just dive right in.
Thoughts?
This is the best cover yet. This looks like a Drew Struzan poster to me.
It does, doesn't it? It's
This
an
is-
amazing, truly amazing cover.
You've got all the players that are involved, and I'm glad that they left Carbon off of the cover. So
Why? You don't like Carbon?
Yeah, I can't stand Carbon.
Come on.
And of course, that's the first thing we see is Carbon and Vader, and that just it looks awkward to me. That first panel, Carbon. I don't know. I'm having trouble figuring out how Carbon is standing. Looks almost like his head is turned around backwards.
Well, it should be. Frankly, that's what Vader should have done, was stop this pussyfooting around and just shattered the guy's neck.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, you're right. It's clear if you're looking at him, he's facing his head toward the right. So, but
3PO is still trying valiantly to get in touch with Leia.
which is, you give him credit. He's, he never says die.
Right. And he's telling her, look, stuff's going wrong. We need you over here. And I love the way that her decision is presented. She's remembering Alderaan blowing up.
She is, and it looks like she's remembering Alderaan blowing up, in the special edition.
Right. Because it's got the equatorial pulse coming out.
So, and that look of utter shock on that, in those last two panels.
Yeah, she can't believe what she's doing. She can't believe that she's actually...
She's going to avenge Alderaan, finally, and then fate intervenes as always with her. That she gets that message, or not that message. She gets that impression. She sees everybody on the ground. She realizes I've got to go and I've got to help my friends.
Yeah, she snaps out of her bloodlust. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's nice because it's clearly some Force imagery we're seeing here. Now, granted, it's not accurate because it shows Luke in his his jacket and his breeches and his shirt, not his flight suit. But still, the fact that she's seeing them, that says something. We're seeing some Force application on Leia's part.
Possibly, yeah.
Which we haven't seen before in the movies and during this time frame. Because again, this is after A New Hope. So, but I always like it when we could see her being Forcey or Force-ish. That's not a word. I feel bad now.
You shouldn't feel bad.
I don't know. All right.
So she does find her way back. But before that, we cut to Ephra, who is extremely good at bargaining and getting herself clear of trouble.
Well, she's all about self-preservation.
Yeah, she tells let this be my redeem myself for accidentally leading you into a trap opportunity.
Which I think is great because it's a nice callback, to that first episode. I think it was in the one shot, where he's like, I see you trying to kill me. No, seriously, this is completely an accident. So
What happened totally by accident?
So, which I thought was that's clever dialogue, I think.
So was 3PO. I love that his head's turned around backwards. This thing that he does with Black K, whatever we'll call him, was that his plan or was it a happy accident?
That's kind of hard to ascertain. I mean, because he knows how to do it. Because remember, he did it with Dengar.
Right.
So, I don't know. I don't know. It seems like it's a mix of both. I think he realizes at the last second, well, wait. You know what? If I do this, I should have enough power.
The panel where the Wookiee does get electrocuted.
That is great.
It's pretty funny.
That is such. All the hair goes straight up, and because I bet that would happen. Because that's a significant jolt of electricity. I mean, to the point that he's on the ground smoking. So, but I love that it's like, so, I do. That's good drawing. That's really good drawing.
Is. And again, I like the sort of the call forward of 3PO's head getting put on backwards.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so we cut back to our favorite part, which is Carbon and Vader. And I just really hate that it's coming down. The end of this is coming down to Vader having a fight with this character.
Yeah, it is kind of vexing to me.
At least the dialogue's a little better this time around.
Slowly, but I'm not quite sure why they felt so compelled to have him as this sort of side protagonist, if you will, or the side antagonist.
Side antagonist, right? I hate it.
It just, takes it away. Although I love the fact that Aphra's like, eject, 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 eject. Come on, eject.
Right, because she crashes her ship into this land bridge that Carbon's on, and so she's flying around in a chair. Carbon figured out Vader was after something more,
which I really kind of like, because that was good. Especially the way it's set up, because you can tell he's dying. He's finally been really more than likely mortally wounded. This is something else. This is not just revenge for the Death Star, but just the Vader. Oh gosh, the Vader. You will never know. So, just puts it into him right then and there.
Right then and there, which he should have done a long time ago.
Yeah. And of course, Aphra is still not entirely sure if she's going to survive. So.
Well, and I love that this all rests upon the boy. Great. So they've gotten Luke up into the shuttle. And we hear, 3PO is giving us a rundown of everything that's happened up until this point. But the shuttle leaving, Luke's on that thing. I bet we're too late. Vader stands on the top of this peak and force chokes everyone in the shuttle except for Luke.
Which is just amazing.
Amazing.
I mean, the power that he has. I mean, he was already using the Force to take down X-Wings and Y-Wings. And to be able to selectively do that, I thought was just really good. But I think in Lords of the Sith, which is one of the new canonical novels, I want to say that Darth Vader was force choking people again while they were on a ship. But, I don't have my copy in front of me. My kids have absconded with my copy and are reading it. So, which, who am I to criticize that?
Right.
So, but I just, his actions in this page really exemplify truly how powerful he is with the Force.
And I'm glad that we're getting to see a lot of that we haven't seen up to this point. So the crash lands, and Han says, that kid's the luckiest. Let's move.
Yeah, get more luck. Goodness gracious. So, and then of course, you got the comedic relief shooting people. Right. So, but why though? Is that Aphra's doing, or?
I assume so. She wants, because she wants Luke. She wants to capture Luke herself. And so Han says, you must have a guardian angel. And Luke says, the Force, Han. And it was neither. It was, I guess you could say it was the Force, because it was Vader choking everybody with the Force, but it wasn't the will of the Force. I would say that the shuttle crashed.
No, I think you're right.
So of course, Aphra gets the drop on Han, Luke, and the Chewie and the droids when they get back to the ship. But then Leia comes in and saves the day by sucker punching her.
Yeah, harsh.
Yeah, that was awesome.
But boom. So.
But I don't like, it's a digital page. Let me see. Digital page 20, after she's knocked Aphra out. The very bottom panel, I hate the way her eyes are drawn. They look really creepy.
Well, it's a little too big is all. Everyone seems a little overly happy.
Well, and I think her eyes are just not dark enough.
Well, there is that problem too. So, and then of course, it's them leaving again. Now, did they take Aphra up into the Falcon?
That was my understanding.
Okay, because we never really saw her again.
Yeah, they're going to see. They're going to see what she knows.
Yeah, it should be interesting. It was a good, I did like the mixed message it sent though as well, because we see Luke. I mean, the Falcon is taking off. The stormtroopers are, looking at it, firing at it again, much like they did on Tatooine, and here's Luke going, I know, Han. It's just I'm never going to get back to that temple. I was close to something, and we'll sort of never really know. Although it is something that will be mined for episode 8 or even episode 9. Who knows?
Correct. That's very true. And that takes us to the last panel. He says, I was close to something, and now I'll never know. And we see Vader's head watching the Falcon take off.
Which again, that box that has a double meaning, double message. Because we know that they're father son. Luke does not know this. Vader knows it now, but it's just that's a lot. It's a lot to have to comprehend and to deal with, and it's a superb way of ending the crossover.
It really is, but I just have to ask, what were we supposed to learn from this? What did this tell us?
It just showed. I think it just told us that Empire was not the sort of happy accident that it was originally presented as. That this is basically Empire was set up because Vader was ruthlessly tracking Luke down and utilizing everything in his power to do so, which is why we had probe droids being kicked out all over the galaxy, which is why he knew for a fact that the rebels were on Hoth, because he was just extrapolating everything.
Right.
So it gives us an idea. It gives us a good measure of his slavish devotion to bringing this guy in. That's my thought.
That makes sense. What are your final thoughts on the this miniseries as a whole?
I enjoyed it. It was a nice little lark. It was fun. It was a lark. It was. And it gives us a really good idea of the force powers that Vader has and the level of power that he does have. And that's critical. I mean, and I'm not the only one, I think, because this was a pretty popular series. It's so popular, in fact, that when Diamond did its top 500 titles of 2015, the first episode, if you will, of Star Wars Vader Down, looks like it was the 6th most popular comic sold in 2015.
Wow.
And if memory serves me correct, I think it easily cleared more than 300,000 copies.
Wouldn't surprise me. And there was a lot of hype around it.
There was.
I don't feel like it ended as strongly as it started.
Well, that's a justification that I would not really argue with you very hard about, because the beginning was razzmatazz, razzle dazzle, everything's going to be exploding, everyone's going to die, it's going to be crazy, here Valhalla, here we come. And then it ends with I'll never know. It's like, really? Come on.
Yeah, I can't say that I was overly impressed with it. I felt like it was a little unfocused. And that's to say that it was not what I was expecting, which is, sort of I guess not a fair way to judge something, but I just didn't like the route that it took. Didn't like carbon, too much BT-8, too much 000.
Well, like I said, carbon I thought was a little, it was a crutch.
Right.
It really was a crutch. I would have preferred them focus on, Leia, or Vader and Leia, or Vader and Luke, and that's about it. So, but it's I didn't write it, I didn't edit it. I'm not decrying it though. It's a great read. It's a fun read, and it's been enjoyable. It's been an interesting few months with us. So,
true. So, all right. Well, there you have it, folks. Those are our final thoughts on Vader Down. I was a little nonplussed by the ending, but I did enjoy individual issues quite a bit and individual stories quite a bit within it. We'll be back next time to talk about Obi-Wan and Anakin,
which is going to be. I think it's really good. It's going to be a slow burn, that one. It's going to take a couple issues to really get prepped up and involved with it. But I think once you do, it's going to be worth your time. Now, before we go, I want to talk about, 2015 is over. It was a good year. And of course, it was very much clearly the year of Star Wars. Not just because of The Force Awakens coming out, but the fact that this was the year January saw us launch with Star Wars #1 and Darth Vader #1, and we were joined by Kanan, and we had all these wonderful miniseries, and it was really important, these titles, to the point that it really propelled Marvel Comics into some amazing domination for the year. I mean, Diamond Comics, is the the distribution system that gets comics out to all the comic book shops, and every year they tally, the 500 biggest selling comic books, and just in the top 20 alone, it was crazy. I mean, it looked like it's 4 Star Wars titles were in the top 20, led by Star Wars #1. It was the top comic of 2015. It sold at least 985,000 copies, but when you throw in other avenues and distribution,
it cleared 1 million easily.
Yeah, easy, very easy, which is really, really, really big. But it's not just that Star Wars did so well. The comic book, it was that Darth Vader did so well, that Princess Leia did so well. Princess Leia, the first issue of Princess Leia was in the top 10.
Right, that was a surprise for them.
It was, which is really, really cool. Then you also had Vader Down was in the top 10. Darth Vader 1 was the 7th most popular comic of 2015.
Wow,
it was amazing. All totaled, if I did my math right, of the 500 titles, listed, 42 were Star Wars titles. 42. And that's also, including Leia and Lando and, Journey to Star Wars, The Force Awakens, Shattered Empire. I mean, it's crazy stuff, man. It was an amazing year. Just truly an amazing year. So,
and 2016 looks like it's shaping up to be more of the same.
It is. I mean, who knows what's coming down the pike? I mean, of course, movie-wise, we've got Rogue One coming, and I'm so stoked for that. That's the one. I loved Episode 7, The Force Awakens, but I'm a sucker, for original trilogy stuff, and this one I think is going to be it's going to be good. I'm really going to dig it, I think. So, and I'm looking forward to digging that. It's gonna be awesome. But at the same time, I'm also kind of looking forward to maybe some more titles from Marvel. I mean, we'll see what happens. Kanan's getting canceled. That's fine. We still have the Rebels TV show, but I'd be curious to see who might get their own miniseries this year.
I would have to imagine it would be maybe a Force Awakens tie-in, or maybe even a Rogue One tie-in.
It could be either or. I mean, they've done such great guns, Lucasfilm and the Story Group has, and Disney has, with these different novels. Not just the novelization of The Force Awakens, but these novels penned by Greg Rucka, a comic book writer, that gives us the backstory on, for example, Rey and Poe and Fenn. With some wonderful Phil Noto illustrations, and it's a great way to sort of flesh these things out by doing a 4-issue or 5-issue comic book series. It really derives and drives the interest. So we'll see where it goes. Anyway, you can get an idea of how the Star Wars titles did if you go to Coffee with Kenobi, and I'll put a link to the dispatch that I wrote in the show notes.
All right. Well, Matt, as always, it's been a pleasure talking to you about all of this, and
I have enjoyed it. I have missed it very much.
Me too. And everybody, again, follow us on Twitter at Comics with Kenobi, no I in with. Follow Matt at Gorilla Scribe and me at the Jeff McGee. We've had some great interactions with people, and really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been fun, and we'll continue giving away digital copies of these comics throughout this year as well. So, it's sort of when I decide, hey, I'm just sitting here, I had nothing else to do. Hey, I've got some comics to give away. Let's do it. So, best of luck to people out there who are trying to get them. If you don't get it the first time, trust me, there's plenty more coming down the pike for more opportunity.
Outstanding. All right. Well, Matt, I will bid you good night, and to all of our listeners, may the Force be with you.
Always.
Comics with Kenobi's theme song is Mark Hamill Can Handle by Chris Cape. Check Chris out at chriscape.com and on SoundCloud, on Twitter at Chris Cape, and on Facebook.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here. Move along. Move along.
Don't want to see us running the galaxy. Don't want to see us running the galaxy. Don't want to see us running the galaxy. Don't want to see us running the galaxy.
From Topps comes the all-new digital card collecting app, free to download from iTunes or Google Play. Star Wars Card Trader.
For the first time ever, collect and trade everything from legendary 1977 Star Wars cards to new cards featuring exclusive content from Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
All from the comfort of your mobile devices. Star Wars Card Trader.
These are the cards you're looking for.